In 1994, a San Francisco-based company, PF.magic, which before that only made 2 games for CDI, released a game that would change everything for them: Ballz 3D. A 3D fighter game where, true to its name, every character was made of balls. While the game wasn't a big commercial success, mostly because the fighting system itself was quite shoddy, the framerate and presentation were actually surprisingly good. It was crazy how much personality you could portray when characters were made only from simple shapes. And hey, the jokes and funny things to say about the game practically wrote themselves. Imagine going to a friend and saying, "Hey, wanna see balls? They are quite cool." Somewhere around 2003, because of the original PlayStation slowly going out of style in Poland and thus games becoming harder and harder to acquire, I started my romance with PC gaming. I know. Anyway, it was a nice, fairly cool summer evening. I was chilling at my home with my cousin, watching shitty Polish parody cartoons he recorded on the VHS, when my dad suddenly came back from work, sporting the biggest shit-eating grin I've ever seen from him. "You guys aren't going to believe it," he said, and inserted a burned CD into our family computer. He then showed us Neighbors from Hell. A really enjoyable puzzle game that tickled my dad's sense of humor quite well. We finished the game the same weekend he brought it in, but it took a while to max out and made us hyped for the second one. But this is not a video about Neighbors from Hell. My dad got that CD from his friends, who collected and archived PC games, and outside of the mentioned game, it also included about 20 or so other titles that were mostly older but really good games. For the first time I experienced Micro Machines, played the original Morhen, got back from SimCity 3000 to 2000, got tormented by Sim Farm and its complexity, and finally got my hands on the first Quake. While Quake 2 was one of my first PC games and I was going to the internet cafes to play Quake 3 in multiplayer at the time, I understand why fans of the original felt betrayed. Quake 1 really was that good, but as good as these games were, on that disc there was one very, very special. After a really brief installation, which by the way is utterly adorable, I remember when installing games was like a little ritual each time. Anyway, the newly installed program took me in front of a colorful building which allowed me to meet and play with kittens. PF.magic used the same engine that powered Ballz to create cute animals that the player could then take care of and play with. And yes, dogs and cats are made of balls. I remember the game glitching on me and showing my pets as detailless shapes that were making cat sounds. It was a really creepy experience, but cats and dogs too, but for a long time I only had cats, because just like with Pokemon, Petz were split into 2 versions each time. But from the 3rd installment onwards you can make both types of pets interact if you had both versions installed. Cats are really cute and full of personality, no matter the breed. This art style is just so special. Even if quite simplistic and cartoony, every animal is extremely expressive, pops out, and you can't really mistake it for any other game. But before I start gushing again, let's actually adopt a friend. You know, I felt really bad when trying to find a cat that looked like my real life one, and rejecting the kittens that came out to play but were either of the wrong gender or I wanted them to look a bit different. I mean, they were so hopeful and wanted to find someone who would love them, and I discarded that love just because they didn't meet my arbitrary criteria. So yeah, from the start I already was suffering horrible emotional damage. But I found one for me. Even if he wasn't an exact match, I had adopted a black and white short hair and named him Prezes, just like my real cat. The adoption card tells the player that having a pet, even virtual, means responsibilities. Here it's feeding and giving each pet attention daily. And that description is pretty much all there is to this game. You pick a cute kitten or puppy, or multiple of them, feed them, give them pets and treats, and play with them using a variety of toys. Most of the time you just sit passively and look at the cute antics happening on the screen. To be perfectly honest, Petz is as much of a game as Tamagotchi is. I would say that it is even less so, as in Tamagotchi you can actually lose if you neglect your pet. Pets here can run away if you neglect them enough, but you would really have to be a monster for that to happen, or ignore a pet completely for many days in a row. Come on, how could you neglect or be mean to something as adorable as these guys? Anyway, while virtual Prezes may not look like the original, he sure does act like him, being aloof, ignoring me, and being really picky about everything, often giving me an angry look. While a pet's breed affects its starting personality, every single little creature is an individual with its own quirks, making them truly unique. Over time, as one interacts with their pet, and the pet interacts with the surroundings, their little artificial brain is forming. And so, Prezes was also slowly opening up to me, tolerating me more, even fighting for my attention. The AI behind all of this probably is not too complex by today's standards, but it feels like it is. And I hope I'll never get to understand how it works behind the scenes fully, so my pets will remain that, pets, and not just numbers and scripts. I had a lot of fun with virtual Prezes, teasing him with various toys, exploring the limited world consisting of a toy room, clothes closet, family room, kitchen, garden and beach. You can also take your pals to your desktop so they can distract you while you are working or writing a script or something. Your portable briefcase is limited in space, so collecting unique items from other rooms or carrying stuff from the toy closet can be a little annoying. There isn't much content in Petz 3, but it still provides you with lots of options to interact with your furry friends. I mean, I and my sister played the game to bits, at least until we found Dogs 5 in an electronic shop, and I coaxed my sister to buy it with her birthday money. Petz 5 from the beginning was quite disliked by the Petz community, and I never really understood why. Now I know that it's mostly due to the issues when transferring pets between versions, like you can transfer them from older ones, but not the other way around, which was a possibility in the earlier titles, allowing you to upgrade and downgrade the game at will. Well, technically you could do that in Petz 5, but not without resetting their personalities to default, and that's almost like death. There were also issues with hexed pets. That's how the community called custom-made pets. Some of them are really crazy, but nowadays all these issues were solved by fun patches and programs. And I wanted to say, Petz community is awesome and still stays strong. Just the ability to play it on a modern system and not having to run a virtual machine is all thanks to the competent fans. So here's to you, acidtrip, thanks for helping me install the games. And sherlocksoftware for creating PetzA and thus allowing the game to run on a reasonable speed. Also there's PetzFlux, allowing for the safe Petz transfer, thus eliminating one of the things Petz 5 was hated for. Petz 5 contains everything included in Petz 3 and 4, plus all the free DLC published after the game's release. And additional stuff like new locales, 5 more breeds for both cats and dogs, a day and night cycle along with the weather, and litters. Before 5, breeding resulted in only 1 baby pet. Now there can be up to 4. There's also a nursery. Your supply case now holds every item you ever put into it and an infinite amount of them. The trade-off is that you start with only the bare essentials. To get more of them, you have to collect them from play-scenes or win them in the minigames, of which there are 5. They are really simple games for babies like Tic-Tac-Toe, Simon Says, Rock Paper Scissors, and Catching Bugs. And then there's the Asian's Temple minigame, which is like a talent show, and it's tough, especially with a rambunctious cat by your side. You can teach your pets tricks with the use of treats, but let's just say that some pets are more receptive to training than the others. Watching Prezes hunt the treats was funny though. Anyway, each minigame will earn you a random item. Repeats happen, especially when you have most of the items and are hunting for the remaining ones. Sadly, the game doesn't have a list for you to check what's left. If you want to farm them quickly, play either the bug catching in Arabia or rock paper scissors in the castle. You can even cheat during the latter. Make a first pick. If the knight goes for a pick that beats yours, just click the winning move and voila!
Kurwa, kim ja się stałem?
You get fairly normal stuff, like different treats, scratching posts, and squeaky toys, to more outlandish stuff like the flea circus or a box that generates ghosts. You can even get a Christmas tree and a set of ornaments. There's a garden that you can take care of with your pet, thus giving you another responsibility. While hanging around the play-scenes, a host character can appear, donning a unique set of clothes and wanting to hang out with your pet. You can also meet a bunny and a pig, which you could raise in Petz 4, but sadly it isn't an option here. Prezes hated any company though, which made making friends with other adopted pets quite hard as he bullied them hard or got into trouble. By the way, I like that when you want to adopt more than 3 pets, the game will remind you that you already have a lot of them and each of them requires attention from you daily. Actually, I know it will sound horrible, but I gravitated mostly to playing with Prezes only. I mean, more than 1 pet gets really distracting and he also wasn't really getting along with others, so I thought I was going to give him like 5-10 minutes of play each day to make sure he is fed and doesn't feel alone, but these play sessions prolonged into 30-40 minutes of me just hanging out with my virtual buddy, because he just started to do something when I should already be in bed. with less than 5 hours of sleep left before I'll have to prepare to go catch a train for work. I watched him get obsessed with certain toys and objects, like he really came to like that plush unicorn and later Sticks, grooming and petting him. Even observing as he rests and sleeps was oddly calming, allowing me to forget about the harshness of the real world. You make your own fun in this game, decorating, planting flowers, picking stupid outfits for your pets, breeding them, and yeah, inbreeding is a part of the game, and it causes spontaneous mutations as well as helps preserve certain visual traits of pets. Back in the day, the most fun was creating hybrids of various breeds and then crossing these hybrids with other hybrids. The genetics system was quite deep, to be honest. My sister ended up with so many dogs that there were actually 3 full lists of names. And yet, she managed to give every single one of them a bit of attention each day. Enough that they reached the status of perfect happiness. Which the game makes a big thing of, with fanfares and a diploma. And they never run away. I'm going to admit something truly awful now. Back then, at the age of 10 or 11, I thought that edginess and violence were the coolest things. You know, tormenting NPCs or playing the most evil route possible. And when my sister annoyed me too much, I threatened her with deleting her dogs or actually actively abusing them while she was watching. That was fucked up. Damn, I was such an evil little shit.
I regret nothing.
How could someone normal do anything to these creatures? I can't even spray them with a water bottle now without feeling guilty, even when they are clearly misbehaving. I really can't say why it's such an engaging experience. Maybe because pets are so cheerful and feel alive? I know how silly it sounds, but really, there wasn't a single moment when it wasn't fascinating to watch them in motion or to listen to them. Seriously, sound design in this game is spot on. Cute pet noises, climactic ambience individual to each play scene, and sounds made by objects. At first sight, it might seem that there isn't too much content in this game, but the more you take your time, the more you realize that the possibilities are nearly endless. Decorating, testing new toys, making various pets interact with one another. And if you don't have enough, you can just download more from fans or start dabbling in custom content yourself. Just be aware that even with all the fan support, every game, with the 5th installment in particular, can be quite buggy. Sometimes your supply case will return to having only the default items, forcing you to rebuild your collection from the start, which is super annoying. I thought that the game stopped saving collected items and that I would have to gather them all over again from now on, but luckily no. Then again, I would grind to get Prezes' favorite toys because he deserves it. I also remember the big problems with sound, be it not playing at all or freezing the game. In Catz 3, having 2 cats on screen and interacting often triggered a certain meowing sound that froze the game. I felt so smart when I solved the problem by just muting the game in options. Now the game loses quite a bit without sound. Before going to the final section of this video, I wanted to talk about, I don't know, the legacy of the Catz series? No, not this one, dummy! Petz 4 was the last game made by PF.magic, and 5, developed by Studio Mythos, was the last classic Petz game.
Oh no!
Ubisoft, the new holder of the brand, started pumping out new-gen Petz games, now in 3D. My sister bought these new dogs and cats, and she liked them, because she was a kid. And I think that criticizing a game that was made strictly for kids is a bit silly. Yeah, the classic Petz are much better, and using a name like that was a bit disingenuous. But the games themselves are completely fine, if a bit uninspired. Baby animals are still cute, even if there are only 5 breeds, and the models are much more generic than the pets we all know and love. They are playful and still act utterly adorable, but they are a lot more robotic, easily reacting at your every command. The need to buy food and other supplies as they were in limited amounts is kind of an interesting idea. What wasn't fun was statting every pet with numbers that changed depending on the player's actions and were easily available at all times to check out. Yuck. Speaking of the numbers game, Catz for the Game Boy Advance is an interesting beast. Made by a Japanese studio, gee, could you tell? MTO, which was mostly known for their really decent GT series. It's a racing simulator in the style of Princess Maker, as in, you do actions that take time and, as a result, increase the stats of your protégé, here a kitten. There are a lot of different endings depending on the final stats and various breeds to unlock. A really surprising and deep game, with a lot of ways to interact with your pet. Yeah, I liked it. But if you want something more akin to the classic Petz, there's a Game Boy Color adaptation. It's fine, even if there are only 3 breeds. It's faithful, albeit with the weaker GBC memory. I don't think that the pet AI is too complex in this one. Still, a really curious thing indeed. And if you wanted to brag to other people about having a cat in your pocket, well, there you go. And finally, the honorable mention goes to Catz, or Catz 2, for the PlayStation 2. Again, a game made by a Japanese developer, this time by Ukes, of Rumble Roses fame. What's really different about it is that there's nothing about taking care of a pet, as it is an adventure game. It is really good though. Seriously, give it a spin. And it has perhaps the most breeds available in any unmodded Petz game. The story is silly, models are precious, maps are vast, and everything is so relaxing. And also there's fishing, because obviously there had to be. By the way, check this game's soundtrack. Even if it played during this video already, it shouldn't be that good, but it is. Playing with virtual Prezes each night before I went to sleep was a nice change of pace instead of thinking too much and being unable to sleep till it's 2 AM or tiring myself by crying into the pillow over my poor life choices. Sure, he is virtual and thus it was just an imitation of life, an imitation of friendship. But seeing him progress from an aloof asshole to this lovable companion who actively awaited our playtime melted my husk of a heart. How he was curious about everything, how he hated cheese, or how he slowly became obsessed with sticks, or that one time when he got high on catnip. The only bad thing about installing Petz was the fact that now, each day, I have to take care of 6, because I'm also including the Ubisoft's Catz version of Prezes, Petz, each day, to not feel like a piece of crap. To be honest, I really hope that with the progress of AI nowadays, there won't be any more complex attempts at this type of game, because, I don't know. I've already seen people bully character bots online, and it's making me feel extremely bad for them. Petz is an oddly soothing experience, and you know what? Pets never get sick or old, they are always there for you and won't leave a gaping hole in your heart unless you format your PC by accident. By the time this video was published, Prezes, my family cat for nearly 18 years, had passed away. In December 2024, he started to have heart problems caused by parts of the cardiac muscle going through fibrosis and thus working insufficiently, leading to a buildup of fluids in the pleural space. I've prescribed him diuretics, and after a while he even started to get better, becoming more active and lively again. But then he stopped eating, was constantly spacing out, and acted like a completely different cat. Each day I was worried that my parents would write to me that he's dead, or that when I come to visit I'll see him in a box, unmoving. And it's over. You know, he annoyed me at times and sometimes was straight up hostile, like when I was going to high school he woke up me once by dropping a Burago model of Ferrari F40 on my head, and then I teased him and chased him around the house. But as the years went by, he mellowed out, was seeking companionship and demanded pets. He simply was there. And that's what I needed. For him to just be there. And now he's gone. And he'll never come back. Just a memory. All that happiness peppered through the years was ripped apart in a single moment and replaced with a wallop of pain. Accepting change is hard. But then again, what else is there to do? This video was a ruse. Just for me to say that you should give a hug to those close to you. Be it a friend, parent, or a pet. Make them know you appreciate them, because one day you or they will be gone. And there's nothing you can do about it.